Welcome to healthU. Trump's dream has finally come true. Coca-Cola has announced the launch of a new version in the United States made with real cane sugar. U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has even publicly condemned high fructose corn syrup as a poison. However, nutrition experts say that cane sugar and high fructose corn syrup have almost the same impact on health, and the best choice is simply not to drink it. Today, we'll dive deep into the health truth behind this sugar war. First, let's look at this shocking news in the beverage industry. Coca-Cola Company officially confirmed to the New York Post that it has launched a new version of soda made with cane sugar formula in some parts of the United States. This new product comes in 12-ounce glass bottles and uses American cane sugar instead of the traditional high fructose corn syrup. Earlier this year in July, President Trump excitedly announced on his Truth Social platform that Coca-Cola had agreed to switch to real cane sugar in the United States, confidently writing, "You'll see, it really tastes better." This change is not without foundation. Coca-Cola has cane sugar versions in multiple markets around the world, with the most famous being Mexican Coke. This Mexican version using cane sugar has been introduced to Texas since the early 2000s, and has become a favorite among many Coke enthusiasts due to its cleaner, crisper flavor. Interestingly, multiple blind taste tests have shown that most consumers indeed prefer the taste of the cane sugar version. This difference in taste has cultivated a loyal fan base for Mexican Coke in the United States. But why has the American version of Coca-Cola been using high fructose corn syrup for so long? This traces back to U.S. agricultural policies in the 1970s. At that time, the U.S. government strongly promoted the use of corn syrup to support the domestic corn industry, while imposing high tariffs on imported cane sugar. Driven by economic incentives, Coca-Cola and other American beverage manufacturers switched from cane sugar to high fructose corn syrup. This transition occurred in the 1980s, and since then, high fructose corn syrup has become the standard formula for American Coke for over 40 years. Now let's delve into what high fructose corn syrup really is. High fructose corn syrup, abbreviated as HFCS, is a liquid sweetener made from cornstarch through a series of enzymatic reactions. Its main components are a mixture of glucose and fructose, with the most common ratio being 55% fructose and 45% glucose. This ratio is called HFCS 55 and is specifically used for carbonated beverages like soda. There's also HFCS 42, containing 42% fructose, mainly used in baked goods and processed foods. High fructose corn syrup has become dominant in the U.S. food industry for several reasons. First, its cost is far lower than cane sugar, which is a significant economic incentive for large-scale beverage manufacturers. Second, it's in liquid form, making it easier to mix and handle in industrial processes, unlike solid cane sugar, which requires a dissolution step. Third, its sweetness is stable, maintaining consistent sweetness at different temperatures. Fourth, it extends product shelf life because fructose has strong moisture retention properties that prevent foods from drying out. However, the health concerns of high fructose corn syrup have been controversial. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the new U.S. Health Secretary, has publicly and severely criticized high fructose corn syrup in his Make America Healthy Again campaign, even bluntly calling it poison. In a 2023 interview with the Breakfast Club radio show, he clearly stated, "High fructose corn syrup is clearly associated with the obesity and diabetes epidemic, Mike. If you're going to drink Coca-Cola, drink Mexican Coke because it doesn't have this stuff." Kennedy's claims are not baseless. Multiple studies have indeed pointed out that high fructose corn syrup may be related to metabolic syndrome. Fructose is mainly metabolized in the liver, and excessive intake increases liver burden, potentially leading to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Additionally, unlike glucose, fructose does not stimulate insulin secretion and leptin production, so it doesn't generate satiety as effectively, easily leading to overconsumption. Research also shows that excessive fructose intake is associated with elevated triglycerides, increased insulin resistance, and abdominal fat accumulation. These are all risk factors for metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. What's even more concerning is that high fructose corn syrup is ubiquitous in American foods. It appears not only in sodas and sweet beverages, but is also widely present in bread, sauces, yogurt, juices, breakfast cereals, energy bars, and various processed foods. Data from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control shows that American adults average about 270 calories per day from added sugars, with high fructose corn syrup accounting for a large portion. This omnipresent hidden sugar causes people to unknowingly consume far more sugar than recommended. So, is cane sugar healthier? This is a key question. Cane sugar, what we commonly call white sugar or granulated sugar, is a natural sugar extracted from sugarcane or sugar beets. Its chemical structure is a disaccharide formed by combining one glucose molecule and one fructose molecule. When we consume cane sugar, the digestive system breaks it down into glucose and fructose in a 50-50 ratio. From a compositional standpoint, cane sugar and high fructose corn syrup HFCS 55 are actually very similar. Cane sugar breaks down into 50% glucose and 50% fructose, while HFCS 55 contains 55% fructose and 45% glucose. The fructose content differs by only 5%. This small difference is virtually negligible in terms of actual physiological effects. Susie, a spokesperson for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, clearly stated in an interview with Health magazine, "Our bodies cannot tell whether it's cane sugar or corn syrup. To the body, they're all sugar that just needs to be broken down." This statement reveals an important fact. Regardless of the sugar source, after entering the body, they're all metabolized into the same basic units: glucose and fructose. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, also takes a scientific stance, stating that there's no evidence showing significant differences in safety between high fructose corn syrup and other sweeteners like cane sugar and honey. From a metabolic perspective, these sugars all get broken down into monosaccharides after entering the body, then enter the bloodstream, trigger insulin responses, and are utilized or stored by cells. Excessive consumption of any type of sugar leads to calorie surplus, blood sugar fluctuations, insulin resistance, weight gain, and other problems. So why do some people think cane sugar Coke tastes better? This is mainly due to differences in mouthfeel and flavor, not nutritional composition. The sweetness of cane sugar is considered more clean and refreshing with a shorter aftertaste. High fructose corn syrup's sweetness is slightly stickier with a longer aftertaste. This difference is particularly noticeable in chilled beverages. Additionally, Mexican Coke usually comes in glass bottles, which don't affect the beverage's taste like plastic or metal cans do. This is one reason why many people find glass-bottled beverages especially delicious. However, we must emphasize a key point. Whether it's cane sugar or high fructose, see corn syrup, excessive consumption poses the same health risks. The World Health Organization recommends that adults should consume less than 10% of their total calories from added sugars, preferably below 5%. For an adult consuming 2,000 calories daily, added sugar should be kept under 200 calories, ideally under 100 calories. A 355 milliliter can of Coke contains about 39 grams of sugar, equivalent to 156 calories, almost using up the entire day's sugar allowance. Let's look more closely at the health impacts of excessive sugar consumption. First is weight gain and obesity. Sugar provides empty calories, meaning only calories without nutrition. Excess sugar is converted into fat for storage, especially accumulating in the abdomen as visceral fat. Visceral fat isn't just a cosmetic issue. It releases pro-inflammatory substances and hormones, increasing the risk of various chronic diseases. Second is insulin resistance and diabetes. Frequent consumption of high-sugar foods causes rapid blood sugar spikes, stimulating the pancreas to secrete large amounts of insulin. Over time, cells become less responsive to insulin, which is insulin resistance. To maintain stable blood sugar, the pancreas must secrete more insulin, eventually potentially leading to pancreatic failure and developing into type 2 diabetes. Third is cardiovascular disease. A high-sugar diet increases triglycerides, lowers good cholesterol HDL, and increases bad cholesterol LDL, all risk factors for cardiovascular disease. Research shows that people who get more than 25% of their daily calories from added sugar have nearly 3 times the risk of dying from cardiovascular disease compared to those consuming less than 10%. Fourth is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Excess sugar, especially fructose, is primarily metabolized in the liver. When fructose intake is too high, the liver converts excess fructose into fat, causing fat accumulation in the liver and forming fatty liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease has become the most common chronic liver disease globally, and in severe cases can progress to cirrhosis or even liver cancer. Fifth is dental health problems. Sugar is beloved by oral bacteria, and when bacteria break down sugar, they produce acidic substances that erode tooth enamel, causing cavities. The acidity of soda itself also erodes teeth. People who frequently drink sugary beverages have significantly increased risks of cavities and gum disease. Sixth is skin aging. A high-sugar diet promotes glycation, where sugar molecules bind with proteins to form advanced glycation end products, abbreviated as AGs. These AGs damage collagen and elastin, causing skin to lose elasticity and develop wrinkles and sagging. Seventh is emotional and cognitive function impacts. A high-sugar diet causes dramatic blood sugar fluctuations, and when blood sugar drops rapidly, symptoms like fatigue, irritability, and difficulty concentrating appear. Long-term high-sugar diets are also associated with increased risks of depression and anxiety. Research has also found that high-sugar diets may accelerate brain aging and increase the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Now let's return to Coca-Cola's switch to cane sugar. John Murphy, Coca-Cola's CFO, candidly told Bloomberg that the new product will be rolled out in phases because the amount of cane sugar available in the U.S. is limited. He stated that the company is packaging the new soda in glass bottles, but bottling capacity is also limited, making mass production a major challenge. Murphy said, "Mexican Coke's success lies in the combination of product and packaging, and we hope to recreate this combination with American cane sugar." He emphasized that the company needs to expand glass bottling line capacity before supplying this cane sugar version nationwide. There are several noteworthy business and policy considerations here. First is the supply chain issue. The U.S. cane sugar supply is indeed limited because the U.S. primarily grows corn rather than sugarcane. The world's major cane sugar producing countries are Brazil, India, China, Thailand, and Mexico. If Coca-Cola wants to switch to cane sugar nationwide, it needs to establish a stable import supply chain involving complex factors like international trade, tariff policies, and transportation costs. Second is the cost issue. Cane sugar prices are typically higher than high fructose corn syrup. Switching to cane sugar would increase Coca-Cola's production costs, potentially leading to higher retail prices or reduced company profits. In the highly competitive beverage market, price is an important factor in consumer purchasing decisions. Third is capacity and infrastructure. Coca-Cola mentioned limited glass bottling capacity. Glass bottle production, transportation, and recycling systems all need to be established or expanded. Glass bottles are heavier than aluminum cans and plastic bottles, with higher transportation costs and potentially larger carbon footprints. However, glass bottles can be reused, potentially being more environmentally friendly. Fourth is market strategy. Launching a cane sugar version of Coke may be a market segmentation strategy. By creating a premium, more natural product line, Coca-Cola can attract consumers willing to pay higher prices for better products. This is similar to the market positioning of organic foods or specialty coffee. However, we must ask a fundamental question. Is cane sugar Coke really healthier? Based on scientific evidence, the answer is no. Cane sugar and high fructose corn syrup have virtually no difference in their health impacts. A can of Coke made with cane sugar and a can made with high fructose corn syrup both contain about 39 grams of sugar, both provide about 156 empty calories, and both have the same effects on blood sugar, insulin, weight, and cardiovascular health. Nutritionists unanimously agree that if you truly care about health, the best choice is not between cane sugar and high fructose corn syrup, but rather to reduce or avoid sugary beverages altogether. The American Heart Association recommends that men should not exceed 36 grams of added sugar daily, and women should not exceed 25 grams. One can of Coke already exceeds this recommendation. So what are healthier alternatives? If you want to drink flavored beverages, you can choose sugar-free or low-sugar options. Coca-Cola itself has launched Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, which replaces sugar with artificial sweeteners. While the long-term health effects of artificial sweeteners are still being studied, at least they don't provide calories and don't directly affect blood sugar. Interestingly, Coca-Cola's financial reports show that global sales of Coca-Cola Zero Sugar grew by 14% in the third quarter, reflecting consumers' rising preference for low sugar and healthy products. Another option is homemade flavored water. You can add fresh lemon slices, lime slices, berries, cucumber slices, mint leaves, and other natural ingredients to plain water to create flavored beverages without added sugar. Sparkling water is also a good choice. It provides a soda-like sensation without sugar and calories. Many sugar-free sparkling water products are available on the market with natural juices or flavors added, offering diverse flavor choices. If you really want to drink sweet beverages, be mindful of frequency and portion size. Occasionally, drinking a can of Coke won't immediately ruin your health, but if you drink it every day or drink several cans at once, problems will accumulate. Consider sugary beverages as an occasional treat rather than a daily habit. When drinking, also pay attention to portions. Don't gulp down a large bottle all at once. Choose small cans or drink in portions. We also need to recognize the trap of the health halo effect. When a product is promoted as natural, organic, or free of high fructose corn syrup, consumers often perceive it as healthier and lower their guard, actually consuming more. In reality, organic cane sugar is still sugar. Natural fruit juice still contains large amounts of fructose, and these healthy sugars like coconut sugar, maple syrup, and agave syrup are all essentially still sugar, and excessive consumption causes the same health problems. Let's look at other countries' experiences. Mexico is one of the countries with the highest per capita Coke consumption in the world, while also facing serious obesity and diabetes problems. In 2014, the Mexican government began levying a special tax on sugary beverages, charging 1 peso per liter. Research shows that in the first year after this policy was implemented, sugary beverage sales dropped by 6%, and by the second year, dropped by 9.7%. The decline was more pronounced among low-income households, reaching 11.7%. This demonstrates that pricing mechanisms can indeed influence consumer behavior. The UK also implemented the Soft Drinks Industry Levy in 2018, levying higher taxes on high-sugar beverages. What's interesting about this policy is that it uses a tiered tax rate. Beverages with less than 5 grams of sugar per 100 milliliters are tax-free, 5 to 8 grams are taxed at a lower rate, and over 8 grams are taxed at a higher rate. This gave beverage manufacturers a clear incentive to reformulate and reduce sugar content in their products. After the policy was implemented, many beverage brands did indeed adjust their formulas and reduce added sugar. In Asia, the Singapore government banned advertising of high-sugar beverages starting in 2022 and requires all pre-packaged beverages to display nutritional grades from A, healthiest, to D, least healthy. Thailand has also implemented similar sugar tax policies. These policies all demonstrate that governments around the world are increasingly recognizing the threat of sugary beverages to public health and are beginning to take action. Returning to the individual level, how should we view this cane sugar Coke trend? First, we need to recognize a fact. This is primarily a marketing campaign, not a health revolution. Coca-Cola's launch of a cane sugar version is mainly to respond to consumer demand for natural products and to satisfy President Trump's public appeal. This is a clever business strategy that can create buzz, attract media coverage, and potentially open up a market segment willing to pay higher prices. From a public health perspective, cane sugar Coke is not healthier than the original version. If Health Secretary Kennedy truly wants to make Americans healthier, the focus should not be on replacing high fructose corn syrup with cane sugar, but rather on reducing overall sugar intake. This requires multifaceted efforts, including public education, food labeling reform, school nutrition policies, taxation on sugary beverages, and more. We also need to understand that food policy involves complex interests. The U.S. corn industry is worth tens of billions of dollars annually, employs hundreds of thousands of people, and involves substantial agricultural subsidies and political lobbying. Changing the entire food industry's sweetener usage habits is not a simple matter. Similarly, increasing cane sugar use would require changes to trade policies and agricultural subsidy structures, which would also affect many vested interests. As consumers, the most important thing we can do is develop critical thinking skills. When seeing slogans like natural cane sugar or free of artificial additives, ask yourself, is this really healthier? Or is it just marketing speak? Develop the habit of reading nutrition labels, particularly paying attention to sugar content. Remember, regardless of the sugar source, excessive consumption is harmful. We also need to recognize that taste can be trained. People accustomed to high sugar diets may initially find sugar-free or low-sugar foods tasteless. But if you consistently reduce sugar intake, taste buds will gradually adapt and sensitivity to sweetness will increase. After a few weeks, you may find that beverages you once enjoyed have become too sweet. At this point, your taste has recalibrated and can better appreciate the natural flavors of foods. Finally, let's summarize today's key points. Coca-Cola's launch of a cane sugar version in the United States does satisfy President Trump's wish and responds to some consumers' demand for natural products. U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. strongly criticizes high fructose corn syrup as poison, believing it's associated with the obesity and diabetes epidemic. However, the consensus among nutrition experts is that cane sugar and high fructose corn syrup have virtually no difference in their health impacts because their composition and metabolism are very similar. The real health advice is simple, but not romantic. Reduce or avoid sugary beverages, whether made with cane sugar or high fructose corn syrup. If you really want to drink flavored beverages, choose sugar-free versions, homemade flavored water, or sparkling water. Treat sugary beverages as an occasional indulgence, not a daily habit. Develop the habit of reading nutrition labels and don't be fooled by labels like natural or organic. Most importantly, understand that healthy eating is an overall lifestyle, not an issue of a single product or ingredient. President Trump says cane sugar Coke really tastes better. This may be true because the taste is indeed different, but tastes better does not equal healthier. The health secretary believes cane sugar is healthier, but experts' conclusion is the healthiest choice is not to drink it. On the path to pursuing health, what we need is not to switch to a different sugar, but to reduce sugar. This may not sound inspiring enough, but this is the truth that scientific evidence tells us. Thank you for watching today's healthU program. Remember, health is a lifelong journey that requires us to make wise choices every day. Next time you reach for a beverage, think about what we discussed today and ask yourself, do I really need this sugar? Are there better choices? Your body will thank you for every healthy decision you make. See you next time.